So this is the all-together practice from our note 7.1 yesterday. You're going to have to use all your exponent rules in order to answer these questions. So if I'm looking at this right here, I have in parentheses 6x to the fourth, y to the negative fifth, z to the first, in parentheses, squared. So what do I do? How do I start this problem here?
Times everything by 2.
And what is that called when you times everything by 2? Okay, so you're distributing here. So we're going to take this 2 times everything on the inside of my parentheses here. Okay? So what that means, it's going to be 6 squared. It's not going to be 6 times 2. It's going to be 6 squared. So what does 6 squared equal to? 6 squared, not 6 times 2. 6 times itself twice.
6 times 6.
Is what? 36. Okay? Then I have y to the fourth power. Now, when I have powers and I distribute, what do I do with my powers? According to my rules, when I am distributing within powers, what do I do with my powers?
Multiply.
Just multiply. So what's 4 times 2?
4 times 2 would be 8.
So x to the 8th. Then I have y to the negative 5th, and I'm going to distribute that 2 to it. So 2 times negative 5 is going to be what?
Negative 10.
Okay. And then I have z to the first power, and I need to distribute that 2.
2.
Okay. Now, is this problem complete?
No,
Why not?
because you still have a negative.
Okay, and I cannot have a negative exponent. So to get rid of that negative exponent, what do I do?
Divide.
I don't divide. Bless you.
Move it across the line.
Cross the line, so I'm going to make it into a fraction, so I'm going to cross the line. And when I cross the line, what do I do to the sign?
Flip it.
No, I don't flip it, I just opposite, yeah. So it's going to go y to the 10th. Now, are any of my variables, are any of these like terms? Can I divide x and y? Can I divide z and y? No. So this here is going to be my final answer.
What when you take the one, like x, or y and z both have a 1 in front of them, like when you take that by the 2?
What do you mean?
And like, really there should be a 1 in front of the y and the z, right?
It's just known that they're there. You don't want to put the 1 in there because it's not in simplest form. Okay? All right, let's go ahead and work our way across to the right. So this one I have 1 over 3d to the negative 5th power. What is wrong with this one, Maddie? What do we need to fix on this? Hannah, can you help? Chance, can you get your notes out, please?
Divide 3D.
I think I've ever done anything in this.
Well, what's the wrong? Not divide per se. Riley, you see the problem with this one?
The 1.
Nothing to do with the 1.
We just flip the signs.
What do you mean flip the signs?
Like put the, like get rid of the 1 and just like put the 3D with positive 6 up top.
Okay, but so what the problem is what then? I have a what?
Negative.
Exponent. I am not allowed to have a negative exponent. So if I have a negative exponent, I have to get rid of it. So if you refer back into your notes where it talks about the negative exponents, it says basically move it across the fraction line. So move it to the other side. And when you cross the line, you change your sign. What's my sign now? Negative. So if I cross the line and I change my sign, my negative is going to go to a positive. So basically, to make this negative into a positive, I'm going to cross the line. So everything comes... Does everything come up with it?
No.
No. Why not? What is that negative exponent only referring to?
The
The D. Good. So I only bring the D up and change the sign. So the 3 remains on the bottom. Okay? Let's go to my next one. So I have a division problem. There's a couple things that I need to do to this specific problem. What do you think what is? What do you think it is?
Next one.
This one right here. What's wrong with them?
Yes.
There's negatives, right? So if there's negatives, I'm going to have to cross the line and change the sign. So Emily, which one am I going to change first? Does it matter?
No.
No. And I could actually change them at the same time. So if I'm going to change them at the same time, what am I going to do? How am I going to rewrite this?
A3.
That's going to go where? So what's going to go on my top? So what am I moving? Let's start with that.
Then A-3.
And that goes to where?
The top. The bottom.
The bottom. So that's going to go, if I cross the line, I change my sign, so it's going to go A to the third, just positive 3. Good. Okay, so I have that one finished. Okay. What do I write next and where?
C to the 7 at the bottom. Or do you want?
Okay, I can do that. C to the 7th at the bottom. So that's written. Now what?
Then positive D to the 4.
Well, what do you think I want to write first?
B to the 4.
Why do I want to write B to the 4th first?
Alphabetical order.
Alphabetical order. Good. And then, last step.
Then. Then what?
Last step.
Put D to the
4th. And I'm finished with that because there are no like terms that I can then divide. Okay. Next one. So I have 3/5 to the negative second. The negative second is on the outside of my parentheses. So what do I do with that negative 2?
times all those or
So what does that mean, times both of those? What's that called? Distribute. Now, I can't really change my negative sign at this point. Okay? So we're going to change it here in just a second if needed. So what's 3 times negative 2? So what's...
negative 6.
No, wait. Am I going to power it? Like, it's not 3 times negative 2, but it's 3 times negative to the second power, right?
Okay, so basically it'll be 3 times.
Why is that what it is?
Huh?
It's Tuesday, but I didn't make it here.
Yeah,
There's
three
a site, there's
times
a,
negative 3 is
Which will be,
positive 9.
okay? And then our bottom. So what's 5 to the negative second power?
Positive 25.
Positive 25. So basically, the negatives work their way out of the exponent once I went ahead and multiplied them out. Okay? Okay, Ben, I love how you're participating, but you cannot answer anymore today at this point. Not today at all, but just at this point. Here's the thing. If you guys don't participate, I have no idea if you're comprehending this or not. And then when we get to the end of the unit, I have no idea if you get it or not. Okay? So, we're looking at negative 4L to the negative 6 power. Maddie, when I'm looking at this, what is wrong with it? What do I need to do? Which rule do I need to follow? So what I want you guys to do, flip your notes to the front page. Flip your notes to the front page. So we're going to go through our rules real fast. So our first rule, we have the invisible exponent. What is the invisible exponent?
When an expression does not have a visible exponent.
Yeah, so if I just have a variable by itself and there's no exponent there, we know that invisible exponent should be 1. Okay? The product rule. When I am multiplying exponents, they must have the same what? Base. When they have the same base, then what do I do to the exponents? Add them, okay? Flip your page. Then we go to the quotient rule. Yeah. well, flip 2 pages because, the copier and I are not friends. So then we're going to go to the quotient page. In order to divide exponents, they again must have the same base, which means the same variable. And then, how do we actually divide exponents? Subtract. Okay? Moving on now. When we have a power to a power, so when we have a power to a power, which basically means, okay, so we're going to multiply those 2 powers together, okay? Then the next rule goes down to what? Distribute. So basically, with distribute, we're just going to take the power on the outside of the parentheses and multiply it by everything on the inside of the parentheses. When you have an actual coefficient, an actual number, though, remember, we have to actually follow the exponent rules. But if it's an exponent to a variable, then that's where we just multiply them. Then we go to negative exponents. What's the main thing you need to know? Are you allowed to have negative exponents? No. So if you have a negative exponent, you have to change it. Okay? We change it by moving it from the top to the bottom. Basically, any number that's up here, you guys, we can imagine that it's a fraction by just putting a fraction line below it. So if I want to change this negative exponent, what does it say to do?
Change or cross the line.
So I'm going to take it and cross a line. So what am I crossing the line with? What am I moving from the top to the bottom?
A 4.
Now wait, be careful. What is the negative 6 to the power of negative 6 referring to? The L or the negative 4? Just the L. So the L, I cross the line, and I change the sign of a negative 6 to a positive 6. Okay? So what's going to be my numerator? What's going to stay on the top here?
Negative 4.
Now, negative 4 is fine. No, we're going to leave it as a negative 4. Negative 4 is fine because it's a coefficient. It's not an exponent. That doesn't matter if it's a negative. It's only an exponent that cannot be negative. And then my favorite rule, anything to the 0 power equals 1. So anything to the 0 power is going to equal 1. Okay. So let's take a look at this next one. So I know sometimes it's a lot to keep track of, but you just have to break it down. And you don't always have to go in a particular order. Just kind of work in the order that works best for you. So if I'm looking here, do I need to do anything to my top row? No. Now, if I'm looking at the bottom, what do I need to do to my bottom?
As a negative 4.
Okay, and it has a 0. So I'm going to have to do 2 different things to it, right? So n to the 0 power is what? 1. So basically then, what's 8 times 1? 1. So the n to the 0 power, it just kind of goes out the door because I already have that 8 there, and 8 times 1 is going to be 1. Now, somebody else identified the k to negative 4. What's the problem with that k to the negative 4th power?
You're not allowed to have negatives.
It's a negative 4.
So we're going to have to do what to it? Cross it, move it to the top. Now, I can't just move it anywhere to the top. I want to put it in order. What order do I want to put it in? Okay, so I'm going to have 24. Then what? If I'm crossing the line with my k to the negative 4, what comes next?
X.
A, B, C, D. You guys really need to hear me sing. What comes before X?
Y.
K.
K. Thank you, Dylan. And then we change that sign to a what? 4. Then what comes after K?
Y.
Sing your ABCs, you guys. X to the 7th. Then what?
Y.
And then what's left on the bottom? What's left on my bottom?
8.
8. Am I done with this problem?
Yeah.
I hear a yes and a no.
No.
Okay, what is not finished?
The top.
Part of it. What's not finished here? What does this fraction line also refer to? What operation can that fraction line divide? Is there anything I can divide here?
Yeah.
What?
8.
And 24, right?
Yeah.
So what's 24 divided by 8? Okay, so then we have 3k to the 4th, y to the 7th, x to the 7th, and y. There's my final answer. Now, could I have divided the 24 and the 8 at the beginning and then just rewrote it? So could I actually divided the 24 and 8 at the beginning? Yeah. It would have been okay to do. We still would have ended up with the same answers once we worked our way through the exponents. Okay, do you guys all have these down? Do you have these 6 down? Okay. So I got to scroll my screen up a little bit here. It's a lot to remember.
Yeah.
What if I make you guys a promise? That I promise today's lesson isn't as complicated as this. Would that be okay with you?
Believe it when I see it.
I do. In my opinion, I don't feel like it is as much to keep all straight as this. Okay. Yes, sir. Okay. I thought you had some. So now I have d to the negative 3rd for when d equals 5. So what do I substitute in for d?
5.
5. So then I have 5 to the negative 3rd. Okay? So you can't have a negative. So what are you going to have to, how are you going to have to rewrite that?
5.
So I'm going to cross the line and change the sign. So what am I going to change my sign to?
Positive.
Okay. Now, am I finished with this yet, though? No. I want to go ahead and simplify 5 to the 3rd power. If you guys do not want to type in your calculator 5 times 5 times 5, because you don't take 5 times 3, because that's not right when we're doing square roots. You can just type in your calculator 5 caret top 3, and it'll give you your answer.
Carrot top at.
Ben, are you really excited we get to use the word carrot top now? Right there.
Oh.
So 5 caret top 3.
How?
So 5.
Typing in 5 times
Oops.
5.
Carrot top, this little thing,
Yeah.
3
5.
equals, there you go.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So we have 1 over 125. That there is my final answer. Okay. Now I have negative 3, g to the 4th, h to the negative 2nd. What am I substituting for g? And what am I substituting for h? So I'm going to rewrite this as 3 times, what do I substitute for g?
2.
2, and it's to the what power?
4.
Okay, and then what do I substitute for h?
Negative 2.
Times?
Negative 2.
Okay. So what am I going to do here?
Put the parentheses.
Do I have a set of parentheses? A group of numbers within the parentheses? No. Okay, so after I do parentheses, what's the next order of operation I move to? Exponents. So what's my first exponent I have here?
2 and 4.
2 and 4. So what's 2 to the 4th power?
2 to the 4th power.
16.
Okay. So I'm just going to rewrite my whole problem here. Okay. Now, I run into a little bit of an issue. What is an issue that I run into here?
They're both like parentheses you mentioned.
And that means we're going to multiply, but do I have another exponent here?
No.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But
It's
what's the problem?
negative.
So what am I going to have to do?
Cross the line.
Cross the line and
Flip it. Or not flip it, opposite.
change the...
Sign.
So what's crossing the line here? What's that exponent referring to?
Negative.
-2. So what crosses the line with it? -2. Now, I only changed the sign of the
Exponent.
exponent. So what's the exponent sign I'm changing?
Negative.
To a positive. Okay, so only change the sign of your exponent. Okay. So then what's -2 to the 2nd power?
Negative 2 to the 2nd power would be 4.
Okay. According to operations, what do I do next?
-3 times 16.
Which is?
-48.
Over 4. And when I say over, I can then do what with it?
Divide.
Divide. So what's negative 48 divided by 4?
-12.
There we go.
Ben, I thought you weren't supposed to
I couldn't tell what was.
It does. It gets painful. Emily's doing a decent job. Dylan is.
Yeah.
Every once in a while, Chance will quit snoring long enough to say something. Riley, you're usually at least vocal. Not your lesson? Okay. So now I have 2/5 x to the second power when x equals 10. So what do I substitute?
X for 10.
Okay. So I'm going to take 2/5 times 10. And this is all in parentheses. And on the outside of the parentheses is my square. Now, think. Order of operations. What are you going to do order of operations?
Parentheses.
Parentheses. So what do I do within that parentheses first?
2 times them.
Okay, so 2/5 times 10 is going to equal what?
I don't know how to intro.
Here. So we're going to go 2 ABC times 10. So then we're going to end up with what, Dylan?
4.
Okay, so then I have 4 to the second power, which equals?
8.
No, not 4 times 2, but 4 times itself twice.
16.
16. There we go.